be mine.
I still love this.
The post-apocalyptic
With high-tech environments might not be the
hollow. Like, if you're into Cyclone 9, Dawn of Ashes, like you're watching some sort of in the dark. Hello, welcome to my second part video about dark industrial movies that may not be brilliant, award-winning quality, sometimes stupid, sometimes naive, disgusting and funny, but always memorable, iconic, amusing and interesting. Some of those movies I've watched thanks to your recommendation under my previous video on this topic. Thanks, I had a great time. So let's see what it's all about. The first on this list is Nemesis. Nemesis. I'm almost sure. A cyberpunk ultra shooter wrapped in a VHS aesthetics. It already sounds perfect. So what else, you may ask? Cyborgs, conspiracies, explosions, and a badass protagonist straight out of Blade Runner steroid fever dream. It overflows with nudity and action, and its soundtrack is just as popular and iconic as the movie itself, an absolutely mind-blowing score. This film is a masterpiece of sci-fi, action-packed cyber thrillers, and all movies about cyborgs. A genre-defining classics that introduced some of the best traditions to cinema and provided countless cliches for its successors, all drawing inspiration from Nemesis. A post-apocalyptic nightmare infused with industrial horror. Rusty killer robots, grimy interiors, and a soundtrack from Ministry and Public Image Ltd. Tempting, right? The plot revolves around the girl trapped in her own apartment with a robot designed for military purpose. Well, how could it be otherwise? Come on. Of course, the audience attention will occasionally shift to her boyfriend, but still, it's a solid horror film with a decent concept and well crafted through somewhat rushed world. Average acting, a strong musical score, and a couple of moments that even verge on the philosophical. A Japanese masterpiece blending cyberpunk, war dystopia, and tragedy. The film feels like a digital painting in motion. Hyper-stylized action, slow-motion sequences, and deep philosophical undertones. So if you liked Avalon and probably Final Fantasy, you're gonna love this one. At first glance, the film may seem like a chaotic jumble of inexplicable situations and superhero stunts, making it dull, absurd, and naive. However, a closer look reveals an aesthetics so cohesive and meticulously crafted that it is quite comparable to that of Blade Runner. It is built on two main ideas expressed through the protagonist quotes. Humanity is hatred. If life gets a second chance, then what is the meaning of such a life? A futuristic Paris drenched in noir comic aesthetics. Stark black and white animation, a dystopian cyberpunk world, and slow-burning detective. Sounds very familiar. Yeah. Sin City? Right. It has a strong artistic concept. In a grim city, a brave police officer, burdened by inner turmoil, conducts an investigation that leads him to a charismatic doctor, a femme fatale, and a cynical villain. In the end, he uncovers a terrifying truth. Despite the plot's conventionality, the film remains highly engaging, primarily due to its presentation. a cult punk comic brought to life. Neon colors, anarchy, diesel punk, and kangaroo cyborgs. You heard it right. Laurie Petty is on fire. Soundtracks are pure 90s grunge chaos. So come on, if you love this trashy 90s vibe and aesthetics, it's a must-watch. The charm of this movie isn't in the story itself, but what happens on screen. Laurie Petty literally carries the entire film. The plot follows both protagonists fighting against evil in the form of the Water and Power Corporation, led by a maniacal figure played by Malcolm McDowell. Along the way, they fight mutant human kangaroos, one of whom, under heavy makeup, is played by Ice-T. Next, we have a fusion of like this dark fantasy and philosophical drama, but futuristic. It's very stylish and it's grotesque. Some very, very atmospheric. Of course, probably because of Eva Green. She adds such a depth to the character, very artistic. It's like a dark city, but more soft, gothic and soft. Black, murky tones, unconventional architecture, strange people. The creators managed to craft something that is hard to put into words, yet visually it's simply stunning, despite depicting a far from ideal setting. It's a mind-bending cyberpunk slow-motion nightmare, handcrafted over 7 years by one creator, which is a mind-blowing fact. This one is a masterpiece. A world of mutants, bizarre creatures, and techno-surrealism, and it sounds exactly the way it looks. Reminiscence of Silent Hill, Metropolis, and Oddworld. A fairly straightforward and readable plot filled with all sorts of amusing twists. A lost robot wandering through an underground labyrinth tries to complete its mission, while nearly every character it encounters attempts to stop it. But what drew me in more was the visual aesthetics of this experimental film. Post-apocalyptic settings, concrete walls tangled with wires, labyrinth of mysterious industrial structures, and a variety of mutants in all shapes and forms. At times, the imagery evokes disgust, sometimes horror, and sometimes a kind of amused bewilderment. Thank you for staying with me through this whole video. If you did, leave a thumbs up and maybe a comment where you can tell me which movie you have seen, which one you haven't, and maybe some suggestions. I'll appreciate it. See you in my next video. Bye!